We're joined now by Rochas-Anwukah, who is the Special Assistant to the President on Public Health and the focal person for nutrition at the Office of the Vice President. Good to see you and thanks for your time. Well, 774 local governments. Let's start by painting a very, not too good a picture of how this has been for a lot of people, especially those in rural areas. And now it is even catching on with those in urban areas. Malnutrition. How is this going to pan out to the extent that you put in your hands on every local government in Nigeria?
Right, so thank you first of all for having me. I think if we look into the issue of malnutrition in the country, we see that malnutrition is a challenge that is affecting the cognitive development and stunted growth on children. It does affect our productivity levels of the workforce in the future, and of course the economy at large. In terms of the 774 initiative, the N774, it's really a nationwide program, flagship program of the National Council on Nutrition, aimed at incentivizing and coordinating a multi-sectoral approach across the different sectors of health, agriculture, social protection, education, water, sanitation, and hygiene, to ensure that really all nutrition activities get to the grassroots, it gets to the last mile. Of course, we have 774 local government areas. It is a task, it is a challenging task, an uphill task, but we will do it with the political will and commitment. And this is where getting a multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholder approach comes in. When we get the sectors to do their own bit, the subnationals across, down the federal government, states, local governments, sort of like a division of labor. And this is how this becomes possible. And of course, with partnership and collaboration, leveraging on the resources, technical expertise, financial resources of development partners and private sector, this is how we can ensure we get to all the grassroots. To be honest, we won't start with all 774, but we'll go with the high burden areas. And this program is data driven. It's not just, we want to get involved in this, but to say, what does the data say? Where are the highest burdens? And then we start from there to start to sort of handle this coordination and performance-based incentivizing mechanisms as well.
Interesting, and I'm glad you talk about data and the numbers. 11 million, based on figures, suffering malnutrition. 2 million children, severe acute malnutrition, otherwise known as SAM. But in terms of strategy, where are you starting from? You talk about the most vulnerable areas. Where are you starting from? Are you going to the schools? Is it the families? Is it the communities? Talk to us more about that.
First, I will call this program a people's initiative. We want people as individuals to take ownership of the program because it's an all of government, all of society approach. And when you're talking about strategy, we're looking at schools, communities, and households. How do we empower even women within the households to pull themselves together in clusters and really empower themselves? Say, for instance, Tom Brown, making Tom Brown and ensuring that it's also income generating for themselves. We're also looking to see how we can ensure that in schools, and we're educating students on nutrition because of its impact. A lot of times people think nutrition is just about food availability.
Right.
Yes.
Maybe that's where we should have even started from. When you talk about nutrition, what kind of nutrition are you bringing to this people?
So on a closer term, nutrition is not just about availability of food, but making sure that there are foods that have the right nutrients in them. And when you look at the broader term, it's really about, like I mentioned earlier, having all these sectors where you're having interventions in agriculture, in health, the maternal child health, in WASH and social protection, to see how the broader aspects and how it affects the economy. So when we talk about nutrition, we want people to learn the habits, understand the importance of really nutrition, to know that it is beyond just having food on the table. Because one thing we're trying to curb, some people may ask, you're talking about nutrition, we're going through this challenge of food insecurity, but I dare say that food insecurity and malnutrition are two sides of a coin and must be treated simultaneously, because what is there if you have food on the table but they're not nutritious food?
Listening to you, it means you have to be octopussy in your approach. You have a lot of sector. You're talking about water, you're talking about agriculture, you're talking about food. But looking at the figures, because we reeled out earlier, it would seem to a lot of Nigerians that that figure just might be incorrect, going by what Nigeria is going through at the moment. Perhaps it's just us here in the studios and some few people who are still able to have good, nourished meal on a daily basis.
With difficulty.
So,
I must underline that.
how do you hope to, because you said with your data you know where to start from, how do you hope to arrest this problem without leaving anyone behind?
In fact, that's the main point, leaving no one behind, especially the vulnerable populations. And when we talk about this as a decentralized, coordinated effort, strengthening the governance at the local government. So we have the local government councils on nutrition. One of the main aims of this is to reactivate those. So you really have the key stakeholders at the community level organizing themselves. And I did mention earlier, it's almost like a division of labor. You play your role, and we can start to see the change. And then really using the PHCs, the primary healthcare centers, as a fulcrum to see how we can get, when pregnant women come there with their children, use that as a platform in collaboration with Agric to say, we're going to provide them with these nutritious foods or seedlings. So having that collaborative effort across all the sectors is how we plan to do this. Of course, traditional rulers, faith-based leaders, civil society organizations. As I said, it's an all-of-government, all-of-society approach.
And you're expecting international donors to come in. What role are you expecting of them?
Right. So, in fact, that was the crux of the meeting today, the high-level engagement with His Excellency, the Vice President. What this administration, the Renewed Hope Agenda, is doing is to really bring everyone to the table. So now we've started with the development partners, and we're asking and we're saying, let's leverage on your technical expertise. Right? Let's leverage on your resources, financial resources, because at the end of the day, even with the monitoring and evaluation, we want to make sure that we're having the right spend for nutrition, making sure that every naira spent is really valued and it's optimal. Right. So that convergence of all these key stakeholders is key to ensuring that we have the results.
And quickly, before we let you go, and public health officers or experts will be needed for this, because it goes beyond getting them the nourishment, but you need to be so sensitized so that you know some kind of combination in your homes, in your little places. So how well, or do we have the numbers, knowing that we have this brain drain that we're dealing with here in Nigeria, talking about our public health experts?
Right, so we do have brain drain, but one thing we're key on is capacity building. That was another objective of this conversation, the high-level dialogue we had. How do we train the ones we have, the healthcare workers at the community level, to ensure that they are well-equipped with the knowledge they need, the right mix, like you said, of the nutrition and education, and you're educating or sensitizing the members of the community to understand these are the steps they need to take to be able to ensure that they are taking the right nutritious foods for their growth and, of course, the growth of the economy.
We'll have to leave it there. Uju Rochas-Anwukah is Special Assistant to the President on Public Health at the Office of the Vice President. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.